It's easy sometimes to get yourself in a rut as a creative person, doing the same exact things. And there may be other things that inspire you. It's so easy to get caught up in this whole concept of needing an actual style as a creative person, as an artist specifically. And then your audience gets very familiar with that one particular style. But as human beings, we're very flexible. We're always changing. And I think this concept of having a style is very much set in the current times. I think there's been a pressure for a long time about an artist keeping a consistent style for a portfolio to show a body of work. And that may be true if you're actually trying to get a job someplace. But today I want to challenge you to consider getting comfortable with breaking the rules, because sometimes art rules need to be broken. As human beings, we're constantly changing. So why shouldn't your art also change? There's so many things that influence us over the span of our lives that make us who we are as artists today. And that continues throughout the span of your life. We're all influenced by all our experiences, whether it be museums that you've gone to, modern day comics, illustrations, movies, people, and even the places that you live. All sorts of elements, your experiences, filter in to who you are creatively, and it shows up in your work. Often, sometimes there are certain people that influence us more than others. And it gets filtered down, and then it gets altered, and it becomes uniquely your own. Now, while, yes, some of us do want to keep ourselves a true style, especially if we're trying to get a job, and you're needing to build a portfolio or that sort of thing, and you want to show that you are capable of consistency, it's very important. But when you're just being a creative person, and it's maybe not your 9 to 5, even if it is your 9 to 5, who says you can't break some rules? Who says you can't challenge yourself to grow or to try something completely different? Now, recently on this channel, I mostly show this kind of work, my watercolors and drawings and paintings and that sort of thing. And a little bit recently, I've been doing some pen and ink, and then that prompted me to do this Inktober. But then for the Inktober journal, I had decided to completely do something that was more based upon my imagination. And so it looks like a major shift, but it's not for me. It might be for you, but it's not for me, because these are the types of illustrations I've been doodling off and on my whole life. And I felt slightly uncomfortable sharing it, to be honest with you. I felt like it was not going to be accepted. And then I've just come to realize I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the challenge, and I'm enjoying the ability just to open up a book and just, if I have an idea, I'll just sketch it out really quickly. And then this is just a quick shot at something, and this may or may not stay, but this is just a quick doodle. I had an idea, and so I just sketched it in. Now, if I decide to actually keep this in the book, I will modify it, and then I'll ink it up, and it'll become like some of these other things that we saw. I think in the last video I shared some of these pages. We still have a few more days to go. Next week it technically ends, but I'm going to be filling up this whole book with this concept because I am enjoying it. I don't know if I'll do one every single day, but my desire is to fill up the book 100% with this little quirky little happening that's going on here, where this town is being hit by a bunch of mayhem and crazy little things going on in it. And I find it a very soothing practice, and I think it's good to practice your ability to draw from your imagination. So that's why I have tried to feel more comfortable about that. And as a part of that journey, I have been thinking about other artists that broke social norms or broke norms from their style. One person that's recently come to my mind was Goya. Goya was a court painter, and he did very elegant, beautiful, light, highly detailed paintings of the royal court that he was assigned to or that he worked for. And then at some point in his life, and I believe it was sometime after the time I think he lost his hearing, all of a sudden he started drawing very dark things. He started doing very dark etchings. He did drawings of witches and disturbed people and all sorts of very different things. Now, I can't say that probably it was well received, but when you think about Goya, that stuff is some of the stuff that sticks out the most, to be honest with you. But I found a few other examples as well that I want to share with you today because I have some books. And I want to share with you these people so that it inspires you to feel like maybe you should consider the possibility of breaking rules and challenging yourself to do something outside of your comfort zone and just play and see how far you can take it. You never know what it will lead to. And I really think that this is more of a modern day concept. So let's get into that today. So the first artist that I want to talk to you about today is Klimt. This is actually a new book on Gustaf Climp. And I can't say that I have always been passionate about his work, but when I saw another artist had this book, it's packed with his drawings. And if you're looking for inspiration, I think this is a really good book. And the reason why it's pertinent to today's discussion, and hopefully I won't shake this table. The books that I have today are quite large. So if the camera table shakes, please understand. But you will see the drawings, like with all art, give you an insight to the artist and their process and their knowledge base as well. And in here, what I love is that at the very beginning of the book, you can really tell his ability to draw was quite high. He was classically trained. This is a study for a painting that he did. And at first, in his early years, so these were around the 1880s, he was painting large murals and that sort of thing, paintings for prominent social spaces. And he would often do studies of people to help him do his work. And they're quite impressive. They really are. And it's funny, you think sometimes if you watch many artists, you think that drawing on tone paper and using charcoal or some type of white inks is a new thing. It's definitely not. Here is Gustaf Climp using that and really doing amazing work. Here's a self-portrait and some other amazing drawings, studies that he did for his work. Here is a study, it looks like a study of Caesar. Theater in Turumina. Didn't say who this is. I guess would be this is supposed to be Caesar, but I don't know. But this was the painting that was done as a result of that study. And here's another one. Beautiful figure study, very, very classical, realistic style. But if you know anything about him, you might know some of his more famous work. So from this time period, I feel like it starts to converge off into a little bit more of his abstract style. You still see a little bit of the reality, but then glimpses of the style that he became famous for start to peek in. More of those addition of graphic styles. And these are just drawings of some of the more famous paintings that he ended up doing. This is akin to the most famous one that I know of, called The Kiss, which I'll show you in a second. Now some pages I might have to skip because it might become shocking if I accidentally hit something, so I don't want to get thrown off of YouTube. But I love seeing these beautiful large drawings of his work. I think that when you see these, it really gives a tell into an artist's concept and all the changes and the line work and the composition that he was working towards. And a lot of this is work from your imagination. You know, he's learned how to draw, and now he's utilizing all the knowledge that he has built up in his mind to come up with something really unique and very different. See, look at these two drawings. Very quick sketches. These two drawings are just really quick sketches to stuff that became quite major work. But you can see how he has allowed himself to evolve. Unfortunately, the only thing is it would be nice to have a companion book to this, because I like having both. I like having the large drawings, but I do wish the text was less, and maybe they had comparative paintings like this. But this is the one that I know the best, The Kiss. But a lot of these are ones I know very well. So there's that example. Another artist that I've loved since I was very young, again, table shaking because of the massiveness of it, is Alonzo Muka. I've had this book since I was in my early 20s. I've always loved his work, and I think that's because I've always had an interest in a graphic illustrated kind of look, being a person of my generation. And while I don't think he ever did anything that was way out of the box, but I will say that he developed a style that stuck out amongst all the other painters. But he could paint very well. I'll just pop back here to the back. If you look at this painting here, you'll see he was quite talented at the art of painting figures in a very realistic, almost impressionist type of a style. Some of it's very highly accurate, very realistic, and other parts are more, you can possibly assume that it's being influenced by Impressionism. This is 1916 when he painted this. This was later in his career. So he's very talented. He did a lot of large murals, beautiful paintings. So he's highly talented. Let's see. Just really beautiful murals that he did. Of course, the gloss of the paper is always a challenge. Really beautiful paintings. What he was most known for was his illustrated graphic design style, very much associated with the turn of the century. So these are a series of posters for the theater, all for the actress Sarah Bernhardt, the very famous Sarah Bernhardt. They're really quite stunning, all very unique to each play that she was in. But not only did he do a lot of these designs for movie posters, he also did advertisements for various items. And that became probably the thing that he was most well known. You'll see here is the very famous Sarah Bernhardt right there. So that's the lady that he was painting in the posters. In all honesty, it's very easy to find a book on Alonzo Muka if you're wanting to be inspired by this artist more. But I still feel like, because he did end up coming up with concepts, they're very uniquely his own. That when you see it, you recognize it. It's either Muka or it's someone trying to impersonate Muka. But until you break out of your own niche, your own style, and try other things, these sorts of things can't come about. And I don't feel like back in the day that there was this whole emphasis on style the way that there is now. I think people were just artists, and you either found something that people really resonated with or you did not. And while yes, you want to be successful in your work, you're never going to break out and become uniquely your own, because somebody else has already done what all the other traditional artists are currently doing, unless they find a way to make it uniquely their own. And there's no way to do that other than to break some rules. The final artist that I want to talk to you about is a contemporary artist. Now this book, it is massive. Sadly, it is paperback, but it is worth what I paid for it. I can't remember what I paid for it, but I got it recently off of Amazon. It should be still available. This cover is actually a poster, so you can technically open it up and put it on the wall if you so choose. I'm probably more interested in actually getting some type of a plastic cover to protect it. I could see this book being something that's looked at for a reference quite a bit. Now, you may look at this right off if you don't know who James Jean is and you don't know his work. You might think, I'm not interested in that at all. There is a little bit of that immersion from the comic book world to the modern world in his work, but he is highly talented. So in talking to you about this book and sharing with you this book, this will also be a situation where I might have to cut as I go if there is a compromising page that we're flipping through. But what I want to share with you to set the tone is this painting right here. Again, this my tripod sitting on my table, so it's the weight of these books are wobbling the table. But look at the detail on this face. That is a highly realistic classical painting with all the correct values and the turning of the form, the shadows underneath the eyes, the eyelids as they envelop the eye socket. You actually see the fullness of the form in this painting. So it's really quite impressive. And you'll see some of that, but maybe not to that level of highly painted work and other things that he's done. I feel like I need to take this cover off before it gets messed up. So I'm going to go ahead and I just went ahead and took the cover off. And this is what the actual cover looks like. Let's see if I can do some of this. Again, I'll be cutting away if something is compromising. It's very hard to flip through a book, and I'm not doing every page. We don't have time, and there's just a lot. It's so big, this book. It's so full of inspiration. Now, some things you may think, oh, I don't like this at all, but I guarantee you're going to find something in here. There is something in here for anyone to glean. Even if you just use it as an inspiration to say, well, I like this one element in here. Let me take it and see if I can maybe do a small master copy or a master copy of a portion of it, or at least utilize a concept that you see, like maybe this flower and how he started expanding forms and that sort of thing around around the idea of the flower and mushrooms. I love this swan-like form that's in here. So there might be something in here that you will enjoy. I love the colors, the gray and the pink. I've been thinking about doing some combinations like that myself. I also love how they have pictures of him actually drawing in here. And surprise of all surprises, it's not some fancy tool he's using. It's like simple tools, simple pens, simple pencils, that sort of thing. But he is someone who who's definitely, broke his mold. He started off doing a lot of illustrations. He went to school and he tried to get a job doing just straight up illustrations, and he ended up working for, I forget which comic it was, DC Comics or something, and became well known. He started doing covers, and then it just went from there. It took off. He's done lots of movie posters. He actually did the poster for Guillermo del Toro's movie The Shape of Water. So he's done movie posters, and his exhibits are quite well loved and known. If I ever get a chance, I'd love to go to one of his exhibits. He's younger. He's like maybe in his 40s, I would guess. But I would highly recommend this book, because I will say that out of other books that I've received before, just for inspiration in this type of a style, anything that's comic book related, somewhat bit of Asian influence. I believe James Jean is Taiwanese, but he grew up in the U.S. Look at this hand here that he did. I love this hand. It's just a concentration in red ink, maybe a combination of red ink, red pencil, maybe some watercolor, some type of paint or pulling of color was done on it, but it's really quite interesting. I don't know if it's a bandage or what, but it's a very interesting pattern. Some of these drawings are actually drawings from his journals. These are moleskin drawings. You could see the edges of the moleskin. Again, here he is just painting this girl. So it's not a very large book, as you can tell. It's not their smallest size like the one I've been using. And they've just scanned it. But you can even go online and find lots of YouTube channels that have interviews with him, and they show some of his sketchbooks in detail if you're wanting to see more of this work, or you're just interested in seeing if you might be more inspired by that. This was the page that he was doing from that one page where he was drawing. And you see all this. It's just a regular pen and ink on a moleskin. Just a very repetitive shape that he just elaborated on. And all of this takes me back to my little project that I've been working on for October. But it's, like I said, the book is much smaller than the ones that James Jean was using. It's the smallest moleskin size that they have. And you've already seen some of these pages in here, just me sketching, playing. They're more rough. I'll tell you, it's been a lot of fun playing in this little book and coming up with my own concept around the idea of a particular theme. All these kind of crazy things happening in this little place in my mind. And every day has just been fun. And if you've been following me over on Instagram, you will have seen where I'm at. We're more than halfway over now, which this was the past day. And I've got some new things coming. But in the back, I just sketch something. Some things may say I have an idea and I'll just pop it in and sketch it from here. But it's completely out of the norm. But I gotta say, I haven't felt like I've got a lot of positive feedback on this little journey. People are not responding in a positive way, which that doesn't mean anything really, because all this is my art journey, and you have to do your own art journey, and I have to do my own art journey. And some things may be wins, and some things may not be wins, and some things may be wins that aren't instant wins. For example, this could actually be like a in between change. This can be an evolution of an in between for me, where I'm at this point. But if I listen to everybody who's got, the experts who have opinions about having a niche or having a one particular style and never doing anything else, well, how do you evolve? How do you get beyond yourself if you never change? And we're changing every day as human beings. We change every single day. You are in any given moment the accumulation of all the things that you have been exposed to in your life. If you start listening to yourself and allow yourself to play and see where that play will take you, you will grow. It might be slightly uncomfortable. I'm certainly very uncomfortable right now sharing. I'm certainly uncomfortable right now sharing this body of work with everybody. I put off doing my own illustration type of work from my imagination for a very long time, but I feel like it was just time to go ahead and just embrace it and give it a nod that it deserved. And I might take some of this stuff and I'll still be doing both. I'm not saying that I'm not going to be doing anything. I would really like to merge everything eventually. I'd like to be both tight, loose, realistic, and imagination, all those elements pouring in to one final thing. But I have many years left, and I don't want to just get stuck, and I don't want you to be stuck either. I hope you will consider that. I hope you will consider the importance of breaking some rules. Especially, most of us, like myself, this is not my 9 to 5. This is not how I pay the bills. This is just a little side hustle. I'm here just to inspire you, inspire myself as well, and to be more motivated to produce work. But I also want to hopefully do that full time once I finally get to retire. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So this video probably rambled on way longer than I planned for it to go. I hope that you found some of these resources really fun and interesting. James Jean is probably one of my new favorite things. I like, last week we talked about Kim Jung-gi, which is another amazing artist who passed away a few years ago. I have a small book that I shared last week of that, but this was a real treasure. And if you get your opportunity to get your hands on this, I'd highly recommend it if you feel like any of this might be inspiring to get you out of your box, or maybe you just love this kind of work. Look at as many people as you can, people that you don't normally think that you would, and it doesn't matter what your age is. You can love this kind of work or any kind of work. You can love realism and you can love abstract at the same time. You can do anything you want as long as it feeds your creative spirit, your creative heart, and you can do it whether you're young, and you can do it whether you're old. It does not matter. It's perfectly cool. You can be 70 years old and still want to go to Comic-Con, I feel, So I'm giving myself permission to break some rules, and I'm also going to give you permission to break some rules, and let's see where we can go from here. All right, guys, I will catch you next time. Y'all have a beautiful, blessed week ahead, and I'll see you soon. Bye.